Welcome to Training Day. You're watching TRA's 2026 Gap Cover product training video. Before we go any further, let's hear from our Head of Communications, PR and Training, Warren Gates.
Welcome to the TRA Virtual Training Academy. We are very happy to be hosting the 2026 TRA Gap Cover product training and accreditation program. Let us meet the team for today's session.
Good morning, I'm Professor Raymond Richardson, but you can call me Rulebook Ray. I take care of the boring but important things here at TRA, like documents, rules, terms and conditions, etc. If you need a definition and clarity on any of our benefits, I'm your man.
Hi there. My name is Leah Mazibuko. I'm your virtual broker consultant, and my role is to make sure that you know everything there is to know about TRA and what we offer.
Today we're going to cover the following topics. Gap Cover 101, where we explain the basics of gap cover. We'll show you footage from the Inside Track, our regular podcast, where we discuss everything health insurance, healthcare funding, and a host of medical topics. Then we will cover the TRA 2026 Gap Cover offering, including highlighting the new benefits and enhancements for next year. We'll also cover the various admin issues that pop up from time to time and discuss how to get the best broker and client experience possible using our latest tech. Before we continue, remember that TRA is an authorized financial services provider. We've been in the business since 1999 and specialize in short-term medical shortfall insurance. We have increased the number of policies we administer to over 42,000 and now cover over 92,500 lives. As a wholly owned subsidiary of TIH, we underwrite our products through Auto and General Insurance Company Limited. Now that the compliance blurb is out the way, we can hand over to Professor Ray.
Thank you, Warren. Let's start with showing you some excerpts from the Inside Track, where we explain to our viewers what gap cover is and isn't. And watch out for our colleagues Doc Avron and Alan being part of the podcast. Hollywood royalty indeed.
There's a big question that we get where someone will say, I'm on a comprehensive medical aid. I pay a lot of money for it, yet if I go into hospital, I still have a shortfall. Why is this? So, in simple terms, the difference between medical aid rates, which is the rate at which your medical aid will refund you, and the rate at which your practitioner is charging you, that is widening. And where does that leave the consumer? Where does that leave our viewers? Effectively, you have to fund those shortfalls out of your pocket. And that's one of the myths of gap cover. Even though you're on a fantastic medical aid, there's still a chance that you might have a shortfall when you go into hospital or having a hospitalization event. That's where gap cover fits in. It's an insurance product, and it's designed to cover that gap between what your medical aid refunds and what you're charged by a practitioner. So,
if I could just add in for our listeners, is that the cost for a gap cover is relatively small compared to the medical aid.
Correct,
so
yeah.
you get actually quite extensive benefit to get that gap cover in place.
Sure.
It's a really minimal amount in terms of the cost that will give you that peace of mind and cover, because that differential can be very significant when you get admitted into hospital.
Yeah. Just the second myth that we want to sort of debunk regarding gap cover, a lot of people will phone us and say they have primary health care or another insurance type product. Can they take out gap cover? And the simple answer is no, because in terms of regulation, and we broadly call it the demarcation regulations, it allows us as an insurer to provide a product, but it is specific in that we can provide that product provided you're on a registered medical aid product as registered with the Council for Medical Schemes. So it doesn't help that you're on a private or a primary healthcare type insurance vehicle. You have to be on a registered medical aid with the Council for Medical Schemes. And if you're on that type product and there's a shortfall, then we're able to pay your claim. So just debunking a couple of those myths.
I mean, for example, is gap cover a substitute for medical aid? And no, the answer is emphatically no. Gap cover is not a substitute for medical aid. It's an insurance policy that works alongside your medical aid to provide the additional financial assistance, especially during those hospital procedures.
Sure. And it's so important to remember that people think, well, I'm just going to get gap cover.
Yeah.
I'll buy down, I'll cancel my medical aid and get gap cover. You can't do that, right?
No, you
You
can't.
need to have medical aid in order to have the gap cover, which closes the gap. And we'll talk about that, right?
And another one, what does the gap insurance policy typically cover? So You know, there's the normal, what we spoke about this in our last podcast, the difference between medical aid rates and private rates. But there's a whole lot of other things, co-payment cover, sublimit cover, and some of these policies are even offering these nice value adds, like a travel benefit or casualty cover and policy extenders, that sort of thing. So a gap cover is not just covering that initial gap, but there's a lot of other benefits linked to it.
Great.
Does gap cover apply to out-of-hospital treatments? Now, we know traditionally gap cover is designed to cover your in-hospital shortfalls, but we do know that between what TRA offers you and some of our competitors, there are out-of-hospital procedures that the medical aid is approved as in-hospital, so it's in lieu of a hospital, comes out of the major medical benefit or your hospital benefit, but it takes place outside of a hospital. We've got a standard a standard list of those procedures, and so that does apply.
So I think it would be important for consumers and our members out there to actually know what's being covered and what's not, and actually to look into the gap cover they're purchasing.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
See what's covered.
Absolutely. I think the last one that we'll cover today, are there waiting periods for gap cover? And this is we could spend a whole day on waiting periods, purely because a lot of people would join a gap cover the minute they need it. And that's the reason why an insurance policy would insist on a waiting period. So we've got a 3-month general waiting period in the industry, but TRA doesn't impose that. Right. So if you join today, you can claim today. Obviously, certain terms and conditions apply to that, but we don't impose the general waiting period on a TRA point of view. But then you get your 12-month pre-existing condition or your condition-specific waiting period. And as I mentioned, those are designed to prevent the scheme from claims that arise exactly when someone needs them. Right. Which and it's a standard process across the industry to have waiting periods to prevent that anti-selection. Sure. So I mean, those are some of the lovely questions.
I think that fact that TRA doesn't have that waiting period, that general waiting period, I think it's a major benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So most would have the 3-month waiting period.
Correct.
But it's also understandable the condition specific. I mean, if you know you've got a condition, then you can't join the gap cover and expect to get covered the next day. So members need to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, we always, when we do our training, we always explain to our brokers and to policyholders that you can liken it to motor vehicle insurance. You don't crash your car and then go and get insurance for it. You know, you take it out in the event of, in case of. So that's exactly what gap cover is about. Are medicines covered by my gap cover policy? No, normal medicines and shortfalls on the medicines are not covered, but your medical aid should actually be the provider of those benefits. So,
well, if I could maybe add to that, gap cover is designed to cover your high risk.
Sure.
And ensuring your health is a risk, and ensuring your health through your medical scheme is more designed around your risk factors than primary health care. But primary health care is a benefit for your day-to-day expenses and your day-to-day consultation, and gap cover is not designed for that.
So that leads into the other two questions we've got, and they're both the same. Is dentistry covered, and are my normal consultations covered by my gap cover? So clearly your run-of-the-mill day-to-day consultations, either at a GP or a dentist, that's not covered under your gap cover policy. But within for dentistry, for example, if there's some sort of dentistry hospitalization, you've got to go for your medical aid is approved. That something like a wisdom teeth extractions, things like that. And certainly if your kids are going into hospital for some sort of dental work, then we can look at covering those shortfalls. Right. And in terms of consultations, where your service provider actually visits you in hospital, so you've had your procedure or your treatment, they come to check on how you're doing, and that sort of consultation will cover shortfalls there. But the general question of, does a gap cover policy cover my dentistry and my GP consultations? Not at this stage. So
and I think we've mentioned it as part of our 101. Gap cover is not medical aid, and we always emphasize on that. So a supplement to your medical aid, where there's shortfalls in specific circumstances. A large predominance of that is in hospital. But it's not a medical aid. Sure. And I think as part of 101, members need to understand that.
100%.
Now that we know some of the legal and technical side of gap cover, let's ask Leah to take us through the 2026 offering.
Thanks, Professor Ray. For 2026, it's largely business as usual, but with a few interesting twists. Firstly, we continue to offer the same 4 products that we have for some time now. Most consumers will find a TRA product to suit their needs, both from a cost and benefit point of view, and we still see the 99 Rand basic cover plus being the entry into the TRA range. Secondly, the annual aggregate limit has been increased to 219,845 Rand, as per the regulations, which is pretty straightforward. Next up, let's look at the enhancements for 2026. We have exciting news because we are introducing 2 new tariff shortfall benefits and 2 new lump sum payout benefits. We start with the tariff shortfall for targeted pain relief benefit, where we provide cover for targeted pain relief treatment during surgery or following a severe trauma. What makes the TRA benefit unique is that it applies even if the medical aid pays for the treatment from a policyholder's day-to-day benefits or medical savings account. The treatment has to, however, form part of an authorized in-hospital procedure which was funded from the medical aid's risk or major medical benefit. Secondly, we have the tariff shortfall benefit for hospitalized psychiatric care, where we will cover service provider costs related to in-hospital mental health admissions requiring psychiatric care, for 21 days per admission. Our first lump sum benefit relates to a benefit paid day 11 onwards for extended stays in a registered step-down or subacute care facility following hospitalization. The second lump sum benefit is our premature birth benefit and pays out in the event of a baby being born before 34 completed weeks of gestation. This excludes elective deliveries. All of these enhancements come with their own limits, terms, and conditions, so please consult the 2026 info sheet and T's and C's document for more detail. I'll ask Professor Ray to round up what's happened in the rest of the TRA product range.
Thank you, Leah. Well, we were able to increase most of the monetary limits by 5%, where these apply, but apart from that there are no major changes to the offering for 2026. I'll run you through the full product range briefly. We do cover PMBs on all of our products, and this is subject to the initial medical aid review. The main feature of gap cover policies is to provide tariff shortfall cover. The upper limit of our cover ranges between 300% and 700%. We service provider shortfalls, theatre and ward fees, and other consumable shortfalls, and also shortfalls on the specialist consultation just before surgery. For casualty unit claims, we cover accidents only, but do still allow claims for other treatment for kids under the age of 8. We'll also allow follow-up casualty claims for initial approved casualty unit claims. Leah, what do we have for co-payments and sub-limits?
Well, Professor Ray, co-payments are definitely covered, and in the TRA space we focus on 3 areas. In-network co-payments, out-of-network co-payments, and the co-payments related to out-of-hospital MRI, CT, and PET scans. In terms of sub-limits, we also focus on 3 areas. Internal prostheses, MRI, CT, and PET scans, and lastly colonoscopies and gastroscopies. Let me also confirm that we cover shortfalls on authorized dental hospitalization, but this is limited to a select few procedures for adults and a wider range of treatment for dependents under 18. We also provide comprehensive cover for oncology cases and look to cover tariff gap shortfalls and co-payments, as well as extending oncology benefits where policyholders have reached these on their medical aids. We also provide benefits for new tech oncology treatment and cover shortfalls related to oncology-related breast reconstruction surgery. Our last few benefits that are still subject to the annual aggregate limit are the maternity follow-up consultation benefit, as well as the private ward benefit for maternity and non-maternity stays.
Thank you, Professor Ray and Leah, for going over our main benefits. Remember, full details of these benefits are available on the gap cover info sheet, included in the comments below, and on our broker page. You may scan the QR code on the screen now to access those details. Remember that we also have our unique range of value-added benefits, like accidental death cover, policy extender, and the medical aid contribution waiver. These all provide extra assistance when you need it most. Our most popular value add has to be TRA Assist via our mobile app. Here you can access Uber trips, the panic button, road guard, health and trauma counseling, and even submit claims. A truly awesome service indeed. Let us not forget the travel benefit for those under the age of 71, where we provide you with 1 million Rand worth of cover for emergency care while overseas. Policyholders can also take advantage of the discounted eSIM voucher from Simtex while abroad. Remember that the value adds do not form part of the aggregate annual limit. So if this has been reached, policyholders still have access to the benefits I've just told you about. Let us move on to a very important part of our training, and that's the admin side, where we look at things like waiting periods, eligibility, claim processing, etc. Over to you, Uncle Ray.
Thank you, Warren. Right, stay with me as we look at some technical aspects of gap cover administration. In terms of eligibility, we provide benefits for a policyholder and their spouse and those financially dependent on them, child, children and/or aged parents who are covered on one policy of a registered medical aid scheme. This is subject to proof of membership and the premium being based on the age of the oldest beneficiary. Members and their dependents can also be on 2 different medical aids and 1 gap cover policy, but only if they are legally married or common law partners, which has to be verified by submission of an affidavit confirming 12 months of cohabitation. For new applications, we require some minimum documentation and request that this is made a priority when applying. Similarly, when there are changes to dependents on a policy, we need to be informed within 31 days of the change, or benefits may be restricted in some cases. In the case of unpaid premiums, there is a grace period and we do allow double deductions to catch up, but policies will not be automatically reinstated due to non-payment of premiums. Leah talked to us about the claims administration process.
Thank you, Professor Ray. You know, in terms of the principles of treating customers fairly, or TCF, the reduction of barriers to making a claim are one of the most important outcomes to achieve, and I think TRA has got this one nailed. Firstly, if you look at when you can claim, we do not impose the 3-month general waiting period, which is still unique in the market. The other waiting periods, designed to prevent anti-selection against us as an insurer, are all in place but are implemented in a way that allows policyholders to engage with our medical management team should there be any disputes regarding reasons for ineligibility. We also take prior membership and corporate membership into account when implementing a waiting period. When looking at how to claim, we provide a host of mechanisms to allow policyholders to submit claims. Please note that where applicable, passwords may be required to be provided in a secure manner. The most important part of claims submission, however, is to make sure we receive accurate, timeless and relevant documentation, otherwise the claims process cannot proceed. We also have arrangements with certain medical aids to provide electronic claims files to assist the claims process. Warren, I know you want to end today's session with some news around our policyholder and broker toolkits.
Thanks, Leah. Yes, you're correct. I'd like to remind everyone that we have some amazing backup support for our policyholders and intermediaries. It starts with our call center, where you can talk to a team member regarding any aspect of your membership. Just as important is our fully interactive website, highlighted in green. Every page has been designed to enhance the customer journey of the typical TRA policyholder, so give it a try. There is also a live chat facility where you can message a team member in real time. Then we have the admin portal for both policyholders and intermediaries, where you can view most of the important details regarding your membership. My personal favorite, though, is our WhatsApp support line, where you have access to important documentation 24 hours a day. You can also chat directly to an agent during office hours. Let me end with a special word to our brokers. Please visit the broker page on the TRA website. It is designed to give you all you need to market, administer and support our gap cover products. It's a one-stop shop and the QR code is on the screen for you to scan. Accreditation details are found in the comments below, so please go to SurveyMonkey and pass your accreditation assessment once you're finished watching. From all of us at TRA and the Virtual Training Academy, we say goodbye and thank you for watching.
Don't stress, the gap is covered!